So,
Jared, you've got about 35, maybe 40 of our team members in various rooms in our office that are all plugged in. They watch you on on your videos. This is the man behind the camera.
there you go.
Jared, he's an author. He's a coach. He's a trainer. He's been married to Ronette for 17 years. Is that right?
Yeah. 22 years together, 17 married.
He's got two amazing sons.
Yeah, they're good
by
boys.
the way, be careful that they don't take the lion's share of the company too early. Make sure you pace that, because you got some smart, brilliant young men.
That would make my world, man.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Jared, it has been a pleasure to be working with you as your team leader, coach, and thanks for joining us, man. I want to jump right into it. I know you had something to share with the team, and then I got a bunch of questions for you.
Yeah. So first off, man, you too. You're a huge asset here, and I love, that's why we just had you talk at the Advance last week, and you do a bunch of stuff with them. So appreciate you guys. Can I kind of go right in on the stuff that we're gonna? Is that good? And then you just cut me off if you want to. So what's up, everybody? I look forward to the day that I get to meet a lot of you in person. I think I've met some of you in person already. Appreciate all of you that watch the videos and everything. So this is a one take, so you'll see what it's really like. I usually screw up 50 times and then no, I'm just kidding. We don't do that.
You are a one take man.
Sometimes
I know that about you.
I tell them too, when we're shooting, like, even now they're editing all sorts of stuff for the breakouts and everything. And, everybody's editing out all these imperfections, and I'm like, stop it. Like, the imperfections is what actually makes people relate to you. Nobody relates to perfect people. It's funny. And then we ultimately try to be that. That's a story for another day. But anyway, guys, first off, congrats. I heard that you guys had recently won, was it Best Small Business?
We won Best Small Business. Yep. Recognized by the state assembly and the state legislature.
That's awesome, guys. Good for you. That means that Rick knows somebody high up there, that he got to name you that. Because blink if you're in trouble, guys. Blink if you're in trouble, if he's not good to work with. But no, that's awesome, guys. Congrats to you. I know you're also nearing. I was reading your bio the other day when we were getting ready for the Advance, and I saw almost 1,000 5-star reviews. I mean, just a lot of stuff going on. You guys are growing. It's exciting times. So I appreciate you guys. I want to say congrats to you guys. Only one place can be number one, so that's an amazing place for you guys to sit. And I think that Rick would be the first one to say that it's because of all of you.
Right.
People like Rick and I, we can do a lot on our own and we can push and whatever, but when it comes down to it, the accolades and everything else, I'm saying at the Advance next week, one of the things I'll be talking about is, who's the bigger hero, the people you admire or the people who support them and people who raise them and people who, and so kudos to all of you, because you guys make up an amazing company and something you guys should really be proud of. So I wanted to start with that. Having said that, I'm also kind of looking forward to sharing a little bit with you here about different ways to grow what you guys call iBusiness and what that looks like, and the many different ways that you're able to do that. I had an article written I want to say 2 weeks ago, guys, but I'm terrible with time frames. Like, you can convince me a 3-year-old is 12. I'm horrible at this stuff. But I had some articles written recently that really kind of apply to what I'm going to talk to you about. There was an article written in Fox News, on NBC News, on Yahoo Finance, and it was basically the idea that someone like me was breaking the mold of, what a speaker coach does. Because we live in a world where everybody kind of wants to, pardon the cliche, but put you in boxes of like, this is what you do and that's all you do. And anything outside of that is weird, And yet when you look at the way that we run our company, that's just not the case. We have our coaching and training, and then we've got transaction management and CRM and websites and marketing and all these different things. And yet when you look at the overall world, that's how all major brands do it, Amazon, only 62% of their revenue is Amazon.com. Everybody thinks of Amazon.com. Like, they literally host the servers that house Amazon.com. Like, when you start, McDonald's, 55% of their revenue is ultimately from their stores. Google, 58% of their revenue comes from search. And yet it's all we think of. Let me Google it, let me whatever. And yet there's so many other things they're doing. And so I say that to you guys so we can kind of expand our mindsets a little bit. How many of you that are in this industry would consider yourself entrepreneurial? Like, just raise your hands. I can see you guys. Okay. You're entrepreneurial, right? So it's crazy because we know that we have these entrepreneurial bones. We have this way we think about things, the way and then we come into this industry, or like this article that was written about me, and it's like, all right, now stay exactly where you are. And it completely doesn't fit who we are. We're not all the same. We're not all, when you look at the models for people for being successful and everything else, like we're just different. Like I remember when I was getting married to my wife, I actually said to her beforehand, I said, you know what you're getting into, right? Like I said that to her. She had a dad that was president of the union for 50 years. He worked 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that was that. And I said to her, I'm like, I'm probably going to be working 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. But that's just the first shift, like I'm a different breed. Like, do you know what you're getting into? It's a different thing, right? So I want to encourage you guys before I kind of get into this, like understand that. Don't run from who you are. Now don't be an idiot, don't go and, turn into a workaholic whose family hates them and has no time for anything outside of anything. And, at the end of their life hates, every bit of who they are, but also don't deny who you are. There's a big difference between understanding there's no such thing as balance and also being present, wherever you are, being present with your spouse, being present with your children, but not denying that, look, you go watch season 7 of Lost, I'm going to work a little. Like you got to understand who you are. Right. So I wanted to talk to you guys just a little bit because things have changed so drastically, and it's like the more things change, the more they stay the same. But you also have to understand that the market we're in right now, there's such a great opportunity. But I think what's unique right now is that it's not a great opportunity for everybody. It's a great opportunity for those that make it happen, and the market that we came from, where we sit around and wait for our phones to ring, that's just not the market of the future. That's not the experience people are having on a regular basis when they're one click shopping on Amazon, when they're ordering their groceries and having them ready for pickup when they get there or having them delivered. We are experiencing a different economy right now. And to not understand that would be foolish. To not understand the effects that no matter where you stand on the whole COVID thing, it definitely changed our society. I've said on many different podcasts and trainings, stay-at-home moms who had never shot a video in their life were on Zoom happy hours every day, getting used to technology, true or not true, and so what that means is that there's a higher responsibility on us to understand the world that we live in and to interact and create a business model that makes sense for those people, taking into account the world they live in. And it's so interesting because I said, look, it's a great opportunity, but not for everybody. It's for those who go and get it. We need to understand what's going on right now. When I was teaching business growth 5 years ago, 68% of all business came from referral. Okay. The newest stats showed last year, 39% of business came from referral. So a lot of you are going to look at that and go, wow, it almost got cut in half. Well, there's a couple of ways to look at this. Number one, that's still a huge amount. But number two, it's not the whole picture. You know how they say you can take stats or whatever to make it look. Are some of you going to watch the debate tonight? Like they're going to take stats and whichever side it is going to make it look like what they want it to make it, right? I mean, that's what happens, right? So at the same time, okay, we went from 68% referral to 39% referral. Here's what they're not talking about. While referral went down, do you know what went up? SOI, sphere of influence. Nobody's talking about that, okay? Now, I'm going to read some stats to you, and then we're going to talk about how to capitalize on this. This might be a little bit of a glimpse into the 2021 advance because I just got my hands on these stats, and I'm all ready for the 2020, so this might have to make it to 2021. But okay, SOI, according to the stats I'm about to read, is going to include being referred by a friend, that's referrals, used the agent previously, meaning they've already worked with you, the agent reached out to them, so they're in their sphere and they reached out to them, or referred by another agent or broker, okay? That's what we're going to consider as SOI for the purposes of what I'm about to say, okay? So according to NAR, National Association of Realtors, in 2011, 66% of business came from SOI. For 2014, it went down to 65. In 2017, it went up to 69. And in 2019, it's up to 71%. Like Think about that for a second. So as referrals have dropped from 68% down to 39%, look what's happened with SOI, sphere of influence, right? And so when we talk about things like sphere of influence, what we know is more important than ever, and I've been talking about this for years now, are going to be things like your database, are going to be things like your, social media, that fad, where you learn that John had chicken for dinner. These are the things that are ultimately going to matter. And you're like, why? Those are ridiculous. Those aren't my real friends. Why does that even matter? Right? Well, you got to look at our business as a whole and really understand how this works. When I hear people avoid social because those aren't their real friends, I want to be like, hey, Todd, and if there's somebody on here named Todd, I apologize. I'm not speaking to you, I promise. But hey, Todd, how many friends do you really have in life? Right? How many do you have? 5, if that? So that means we eliminate everyone else because they're not your real friend. I'd love to get involved in one of your conversations with your real friends and see how long before you bring up the weather, because that's such a real conversation, right? And so when you look at database and you look at social, the reason why they are so paramount, the reason why they're so important is one very important reason that I almost feel like nobody talks about. And it's because it allows you to be direct to consumer, okay? What SOI is when we talk about 71% of business last year coming from SOI during a time when, can we agree that the internet is rampant? Can we agree that just about everybody's got websites, just about everybody's got all these different things, and yet that it went up? Think about that for a second. It went up. It's almost as if as the world got bigger, your SOI wanted to get smaller. It's almost as if as the world got more and more connected, your SOI wanted to actually get connected. Like think about what those stats actually mean for a second. And so the ability to be direct to consumer it's so important. I can't even look, guys, I started a marketing company. Can I be honest with your people? Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So it'd be weird to say no after I just live asked you guys if I could be honest with you. No, Jared, let's just stay on the path. We released a marketing company and a CRM that, quite frankly, in the beginning for about 3 to 6 months, I'm going to be very honest, it sucked. Like, it was good in training, in beta, and then, you put it out on servers with thousands of people on it, and it was a crap show. Like, it was like, it was like a game of Jenga. Like, every time you move one thing, something else broke, right? But now let's think about that now. Now we fixed that. It's awesome. Now I love it now. I love telling people to use, like, awesome. But let's look at the important point I'm trying to make here. Why were we able to release it and have thousands of people join like that? Database, direct to consumer, okay? The thing that no one's paying attention to is that a database, the ability, social, having direct contact, direct right to your consumer ability gives you such freedom. Like, it gives you the ability to do whatever. It gives you the ability to have an investment, have someone go get it. It gives you the ability to find an investor to come in with you. It gives you the ability to start a marketing company and make it a successful company on day one. Like, it's so powerful. It gives you the ability to get your voice out, to get your content out, to let them know, what your buyers are looking for with a click of a button. I've got 2 buyers looking for 1,500 to 2,000 square feet with 3 to 4 bedrooms, blank, 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 due to low inventory. We've been unable to find something right now. If you or anyone you know is even considering selling, please let me know right away. Submit, send, and it goes out. It's direct to consumer. I've told this story before, but I've never told it to you guys. So when I first got into this side of the business, I don't know how many of you know this, but I was an agent and a very successful agent. And when I got into this side of the business, I knew that I needed access to real estate people. I'm like, how can I get my message in front of them? Because I went from, uber successful agent to now I'm on the training side, and I don't have a name. I don't have a brand. I don't have speaking fees. I don't have clients. It's one thing to struggle. It's another thing to struggle, succeed, and then struggle again. Because, like, now you know what it tastes like. Does that make sense to you guys? So that was my story, right? And I'm like, I'm contacting Realtor Magazine and I'm just like, I'll write an article for you. I'll do it for free. I'll do, whatever. And, they had no interest. They're like, who are you? Like, what's, whatever. But I needed them because I needed direct access to their consumers, but I had to go through a third party at the time. Okay. So I got smart about it. I understood this thing called proximity, and I went and bought an ad in Realtor Magazine. Now, I only bought the ad not because I didn't think it was going to perform. I bought the ad because I wanted to get in with their marketing team, and I knew that they were down the hall from the people who decide, the editors who actually writes articles. And I knew once I started being a paying customer, now the editors would have to answer me when I was reaching out to try to write something, because they don't want to tick off a paying customer. I'm paying for ads now, right? So ultimately that finally gets through. I finally get to start writing articles and whatever. Long story short, here's my point. We've built our whole company around the idea of building our database, building our social, being direct to consumer, because who contacts me every month now and asks me if I'll write an article and asks me if I could please send it to my database? Realtor Magazine. And do you know who says no every single month? I do. You know why? Because I got hold of the idea that how much direct to consumer mattered, and I started focusing on my database and building that database. I started focusing on my social because I knew that if I wanted ultimate freedom, if I wanted the ability to do what I wanted to do and not be reliant on rented land, not be reliant on places I had no control over, that I had to build that direct to consumer relationship. Okay. So I'm going to start off with that, and I'm going to talk to you guys, about a few different things today, but I want you to understand that your database right now is like the undervalued stock that you need to buy. Okay. When all of this started going down, there was, I bought Realogy at $3, not because I cared one bit about Realogy or didn't care about Realogy, but and that's the company that owns a lot of brands. But I was like, they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation at $3. I think this is going to go up, right? There's a lot of stocks now that I'm buying because I'm like, they're worth way more than that, okay? Your database right now, in all of the confusion of so many coaches and trainers and speaking, and can we agree there's a lot of voices out there, guys? And by the way, a lot of successful people with competing voices that give different advice that completely disagree with each other. And yet, there's a lot of voices, right? And so when you look at the opportunity right now, when you look at your database, it is such an undervalued stock, so to say, that we all should be buying in on. And I want to talk to you guys about a few different things we can do to kind of create that I business. Okay. So the first thing that we want to understand is something I call proximity. Okay. We need to understand the value that proximity has. Now, what do I mean by that? Proximity. When you look at a company like, any of you know Adam Contos, the CEO of RE/MAX? Okay. Do you know why he's the CEO of RE/MAX? He was a security guard. Then he was a cop. He was on the SWAT team, but he was guarding the golf course for Dave Liniger. Okay. Dave Liniger is the founder of RE/MAX. And what happened? He ran into Adam Contos, an armed guard that was watching his golf course. They started hanging out. They started hunting together. They started having lunch together. Here we are 12 years later, and he's the CEO of a publicly traded company from a security guard. What happened? Proximity. He got close to the people he needed to get close to, okay? Fast forward, I don't know how many of you saw, but about 4 months ago, I did a series on Happy Hour with Jared James, and I brought on, just about every CEO of every major company, right? Why did I do that? I didn't care about, we can chat offline, we can do whatever. Like, honestly, doing them every day was getting exhausting, and my liver needed a break, if I'm just being quite honest. Like, we were doing happy hours every single day, and I'm like, I need a break here. Like, this is crazy, right? But why? It's because I understood proximity. One of my best friends in the world now, Nick Bailey, runs RE/MAX. So Adam is RE/MAX, overall holdings, but this hasn't been publicly announced yet. But it is on their site and it is within the building. Nick runs RE/MAX for the world. It's one of my best friends in this world. Do you think it works out for my business better than 10 years ago when I would call their headquarters and beg to come and speak and I'll come for free and whatever? Do you think it's better now when my friend just texts me and says, put down these dates, Make sure you're here. We're going to be on the main stage this day. I need you to do this session over here. It's proximity to the right people. Now, you guys don't need to be best friends with the CEOs of the most major whatever corporations, but you need to start looking at your local area and being a little bit more specific. Okay. Not all relationships are created equal. And I know that that sounds terrible. I'm not saying all people aren't equal. I'm not saying that all of them can't bring you. I'm talking in the context of business. And here's how you know that's true. Do any of you have clients that send you more business than others? Do any of you have clients that think of you more than others? Okay. Those aren't equal relationships compared to the one you worked with once and you never hear from again, and they don't pick up the phone when you call, and they don't. So we know that not all relationships are equal, but we need to start being much more specific. Who do you need to know in your area? Like, who are the movers and shakers in your area? Who's the PTO mom who knows everybody, knows every bit of business, everybody gets in, that you need to go pay to have her get her real estate license, hang it as a referral license in your brokerage, and just have her or him sending you all of their referrals and you give them 25%. Like, that's the kind of way you have to think about this stuff. Like, what developer in your area, whatever the thing is that you haven't accidentally ran into because you know that they go to the same coffee shop every single morning. Okay. This is how you have to think when it comes to business. What is the proximity that you have to create? And you can sit back and go, oh, but that's not really serendipitous. That's not, whatever. Like, look, I'm not actually best friends with all these CEOs of these different, but I'm friendly with all of them because it's in my best benefit to be so, right? And while everybody else is sitting back and waiting for their phone to ring and everything else, when was the last time you made a list of the 8 people in your area you need to be friends with? Like, who's done that? Show of hands. Who's done that? I don't think my audio went out, right? Like, that's the way that you have to be thinking here. I make a list every year. Like, when those lists come out and they're like 200 most influential people, whatever it is, I go through the list and I'm like, who am I not friends with? Who am I not friends with? Okay? Because I'm going to leapfrog every competitor in the future because I'm on a cell phone to cell phone level with the actual decision maker, not the brand new employee who like books the speakers and has no idea who I am and just hears from a survey that they like. Who do I need to know? You need to be asking yourself, who do you need to know? Who do you need to create proximity to? And then the second thing you need to be doing is what I was talking about at the beginning. What do you do from a database perspective? Like, who's in that database? How do you create that database? What kind of community videos are you creating to pull people in? What kind of educational videos? Some of you, I'm not a big proponent of watching the news, except for this reason. You need to know what videos you need to make that are counter to what the news is saying, okay? Can we all agree the news is not there to educate you, okay? They're there to sensationalize, to create ratings, to make sure they keep their ratings. Like, it's a shame that I can go on any network right now and I know exactly what the headlines are going to be, okay? Fox News is going to have Donald Trump riding in on a donkey, Hosanna, hey, the whole thing. And CNN is going to have a fact check on Trump at the top of its thing every single day, okay? Like, we know what that is. So these are not there to educate people. They're there to push their agenda. And there's an old saying, you don't hear about planes that land, right? Which you guys think about that one. You don't hear about planes that land. All you hear about is the worst this, the worst that. Our job in our community as real estate professionals, which we're looked at as leaders, our job is not to talk about the planes that don't land, okay? Our job is to educate the community and make them feel comfortable on the 99.9999999, and I don't have time to say more nines, % of things that are actually going on, that actually affect them, that I actually care about, and that should make them confident about the marketplace right now. Because my God, if your community's watching the news right now, they might as well get in a coffin and wait, okay? Because the world is over. Every day it's ending. So just get in a coffin and wait, right? But we know that's not the case, though. So you want to be putting out counter messages, building your database with this, be known as the actual voice in the area, stake your flag in the ground. This is my community. I'll let you know what actually is going on with the rates. I'll let you know what's actually going on with foreclosures. I'll let you know what this actually means for the market. I'll talk to the local community leaders and see how this is actually affecting them. I'll talk to the superintendent, the teachers. How is this going? What does distance learning look like? Or whatever the situation is in your area, we've got to be the ones that do that. We've got to be the ones that leverage our database and ultimately create calls to conversation, okay? We hear all the time in marketing. Marketing does two things, right? Direct call to action and branding. That's the two things that marketing, that's what your goal is. Direct call to action. Hey, fill out for a home evaluation. Hey, fill out to see homes under this amount. Hey, direct call to action. But then there's also branding is the point of marketing, right? But the one thing we don't talk about with our database is we need to have calls to conversation. Conversation is what creates closings, guys. Conversation. There's an old stat that says that 41 real estate related conversations equals 1 transaction. Okay? How many of you knew that? 41 real estate related conversations equals 1 transaction. What does that tell you? That gives you one of your measures, right? I need to create, by the way, for some of you, it's going to be 30. For some of you, it's going to be 50. You know, it depends on how good you are at that, right? So we've got to be looking at our database and not just saying, how do we keep spamming them? How do we give them our latest recipe for pumpkin pie? Hey, what's the latest mortgage rates? I don't know, Siri, tell me. I certainly don't need your email for it, right? Like, we've got to start looking at it and going, how do we create calls to conversation? Because conversation creates closings. Conversations create comfortability. Conversations create context. Conversations do that. What's the number one way to create conversation? Shared observation. And my God, do we have shared observation right now? If I were you, and they were about to open up salons, or they were about to open up restaurants, or they were about to, I would have an email go to my whole database that has nothing to do with real estate at all. And I would just be like, hey, anyone else notice they have way more grays than they thought? And then I would write a whole thing and be like, what color are you going to dye your hair? And I'd wait for them to respond, and I'd create calls to conversation. And I would do that on my social platforms. I would just, hey, what's the first restaurant you're going to eat at? Let's talk about it. Calls to, when you have conversations with people, guys, what do they want to talk about? Real estate. They always bring up real estate. Is it not true? Right? Conversations, 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 okay? The next thing we want to focus on, and I don't know how much you guys know about this or don't know about this, but it's probably not focused on enough. It's our Core 100. Do you guys focus at all on, is this a completely new concept I'm giving right now? Or have you guys?
No, Jared, we talk about it every year, and we watch your videos on the Core 100 regularly.
So Core 100, when you really think about it, is just a watered down version of proximity. You know, it's that you're creating context with people and then creating proximity. But the thing we want to remember with the Core 100, and I'll push this with you guys, is it's not called the Core 32, right? There's a reason why it's called the Core 100. And just for those of you that are new, I'll give you a really quick rundown and then I'll talk about it a second. But the Core 100, very simply, it's 100 different businesses or industries that you should potentially be networking with. And the power behind this is that the research tells us that a business-to-business referral has a higher closing ratio than a personal referral. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Oh, you sent me your sister. Well, of course you sent me your sister because it's your sister, you know? So I don't really trust that, you know? But when a carpet guy that could use one of 12,000 agents recommends you, carries a lot more weight, you know? And the idea of the Core 100 is pretty simple. Even if these people that you create this Core 100 reciprocal relationship with, and you should not have Core 100 relationships with anybody who's not just as committed to you as you are to them. Okay. And you go, well, I can't expect my doctor to use me. They're going to use someone. What are you talking about? You know what I always wonder about when people kind of back off with the Core 100 and they feel bad because they've been using a certain person for so long and that person can't commit to them because they've got so many agents that they deal with and everything else. Why do you feel worse about not committing or having them not commit to you than they do vice versa? How come they don't feel as bad about not committing to you as you do about not committing to them? Right? Guys, this is livelihood. This is how you provide for your family. Like, this is like, you've got to think it. If you love them, you can go have a drink with them after work. You can go grab coffee with them. That's awesome. But to be giving them business to somebody who has no reciprocal relationship back to you, is to take seed and just throw it in cracks in the concrete. It's beautiful seed to grow a beautiful lawn, and you just go, whatever, just throw it out in the road. It's pointless, right? So you got to look at your core 100, and you've got to make sure you've got 100 different relationships just as committed to you as you are to them. And don't assume that because they work with a lot of realtors that means they won't commit to you. I made that mistake when I first started. The inspector I used also worked with the #1 agent in New England when I was brand new. I went and had the conversation with him, and I was like, but I don't know. I mean, if you're committed to so-and-so, and he's like, nobody's ever asked me. Makes sense to me. I like you a lot. Let's do it. She assumed the same thing that all of us assume, that he wouldn't commit to someone. Hey guys, unless he's going to list his house with an open listing, he's committed to somebody, right? And if they won't commit to you, it just means they're not committed to you. We want to work with people that are just as committed to us as we are to them. And then the math just starts getting crazy. I mean, if 50% of those people are going to buy or sell in the next 5 to 10 years, that means that you just guaranteed yourself 50 transactions. If 50% of those people are going to buy and sell, don't a lot of people sell houses and buy them at the, and then go buy another one, right? That's another 100 transactions in the next 5 to 10 years. Now you've got 150 transactions just off of creating this core 100. And that's before you even get into giving them referrals, them giving back. And the main way that your core works is this. This is such an important point because this is where people miss it. There's these different, truths that are out there. You can call them reap what you sow. You can call them karma. You can call them whatever you want. But the bottom line is that people that just take, they don't get anything back. You got to give to get. You guys heard of the Dead Sea? You guys heard of it before? Highest mineral and salt content in the world. Lowest, nothing living can live there, right? But it intakes from the Galilean River and the mountains, and it outlets out to the, I forget which sea right now. I just lost my mind. But my point is, it doesn't outlet to anywhere, okay? It takes from the Galilean River and some mountain, and it doesn't outlet anywhere. It's called the Dead Sea. Why? Because it takes and it doesn't give, okay? A lot of us are running Dead Sea businesses. See, when you're out and about in your life and you're going through transactions and all these other kind of things, do you know that on average, on every transaction, statistically, you have 25 to 40 referrals to give out? Did you know that? Most of us, when I ask an audience, I'll say, how many do you have? They're like, oh, what, 5? What do you, all they do is think of people at the closing table. They're like, oh, I can give insurance. Are you guys title or attorney where you are?
Title.
Okay, I can go title, I can go, and they just think about, mortgage, and they think about those things, right? People are changing gyms. They're having landscaping done. They're having work done at their house. There's like a million, there's 25 to 40, okay? But what has to happen in order for you to become like people's Google, people's source, the ones that they really want to give to? And this is a very difficult thing for a lot of people. You have to change the frequency from which you hear people and stop thinking so much about yourself and think about other people's businesses. So when someone comes in and says, oh, we're going to stain the deck this summer for, whatever, you're not doing what most people would do and go, great, I'll bring the kids over and we'll hang out at the pool. Me. You're thinking to yourself, I wonder if they have a handyman to come in and stain that deck. I wonder, and now you have an opportunity when you listen to people when they're talking and you're looking out for other businesses. It happens all day, every day, okay? And now you're looking out, and what happens when you give that person a referral? They feel good about you. The client that you're dealing with feels good about you. The actual business that you referred feels great about you. And you know what they feel more than anything? They feel the obligation to reciprocate, okay? Like, the reciprocation rate is high. When you give people stuff over and over again, they feel like they need to do the same thing. And one of the ways you drastically change your number of referrals, your number of business coming in from SOI, your number of business coming in from the core 100 is, it sounds weird, but you stop thinking so much about yourself and you think about all those other people in your, I used to be a part of a lead group, and I don't know if you guys call it that, but lead group, it's like a group we met every other week and a bunch of businesses, one from each industry. And a lot of the industries had high turnover. And, and they'd be like, oh, that group sucks. Oh, nothing comes from that group. Do you know what they sounded like every week when it went around and said, what does everybody have this week? I don't have anything this week for anybody, but here's what's good for me. I need whatever. Oh, I don't have anything, but here's what's good for me. And you know what happened when it came to me? I've got 2 for you. I already sent them to you. I got 1 for you. I'm working on 1 over here. I got 3 for you. I already talked about. I got amazing that same group that everybody thought was so terrible, how great it was for me. Wonder why that was. Just because I was a swell guy? Okay. Like, you will get from other people in proportion or greater the amount you give to them. Okay. And that's just how it works, guys. That's a law of the world. It's how it works. Okay. And so we can understand the concept on the Core 100 all day long. And I've got people I work with. They're cool. They're nice. They're, whatever it is. But guys, the part that so many people are missing is it's that, you guys remember those old, I think it's like a transistor radio, where like you would have to you'd go and all of a sudden be a little bit clear and you move it a little bit. It wasn't, you move it back a little bit. You guys remember those? Or did that just really, really date me? Like, anybody remember, please? Yes.
You're
yes?
supposed to be one of the millennials, Jared.
I know, but I remember these things. I remember these things, man. I remember these things. Those things stick with me, especially when it makes for a good example. And so you have to change the frequency to how you hear people.
That's right.
Okay. So we all have the ability, but it's just a matter of, are we plugged in on the frequency of what can I get out of this? What's in this for me? How can this benefit me? Are we plugged into, how can I assist in this situation? What can I give them that's going to benefit here? How can I help this situation? And look, I'm not telling you that 100% of the time that you do that's going to end up paying off. What I'm telling you is that 100% of the times you don't do it, it's not going to pay off. That's what I'm telling you. Okay. And so, yeah, there's a reciprocation rate. It's not 100%, but my God, if you were to just, I did a thing years ago. My buddy wrote a book called Complaint Free World. And he challenged me to walk around for 24 hours and not to say one complaint. Sounds great, guys. I do motivational speaking. I can do this, right? I'm pretty sure like 11 seconds in, I was like, you know what I mean? I was just like, okay. All right, got it. Caught it early. 15 seconds in. A minute in. I mean, what? Like, you don't even realize, like, you don't even get it. We don't realize how much we talk, how much we don't even listen to what we're saying. We don't listen to what other people say. We just talk, I'm going to bless the world with whatever wisdom that's going to come out of this mouth. And it's such a gift that whatever comes out will be fantastic. And, we just, do that. And then you go do an exercise like what I just talked about there. And you realized, oh my God, I was missing this all day long. If I'm this toxic and everybody thinks I'm positive, what's everyone else like? Like this is right. Now take that same way of thinking about it. Do you know how many people, without saying it, speak their needs to you every single day? It's a business in itself. Like literally, if you did nothing else and you just started listening to people's needs and you started plugging in those needs and you started connecting people, don't connectors, aren't they the ones that win in the end, right? Like you have got to be people's Google, okay? Like the only thing better than the Google algorithm is your ability to know that person, know the solution, and on the spot, like it's there, right? So I would challenge a lot of you guys as we're talking about this here, like, SOI is, man, I already know what the focus on our 2021 advance is going to be. Like, it's just, I already see it happening. I'm watching it form in front of me right now. So I'm interested to see what goes on this year. But man, SOI is that undervalued stock right now. And the way that you actually cash in on it isn't by buying it. It's by building your database. It's by building your core 100. It's about creating a proximity to people. That is what's ultimately going to allow you to cash in on that. So that's what I have to say, Rick. If we have any questions or whatever, let's go.
Yeah, Jared, you got just a few minutes for a question or two?
Let's do it, man.
Hey, first off, thank you, man. That was powerful stuff. It resonates with what we teach our team with we, and team generated business. In California, CAR said that 77% of business comes from relationship, which is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So team, if you've got questions, I'm monitoring the chat box. So type your questions in the chat box right now. I know Jared is, we've only got a few moments left, so make sure you plug those in.
Yeah.
Jared,
So someone just asked a great question there. Do you want to read it? Or do you want me to just go with it?
Go for it.
So you asked, hi, Jared. I was going to try to read your name. Is that two names together? Is it Andrea?
Andrea.
Yes. All right. Awesome. I saw two names together. I thought it was all one long. All right. Hi, Jared. Thanks for the great advice. How would you suggest getting in touch with your core 100 with the currently situation right now? Okay. So this is a great question. And I talked about this. It actually relates to this on one of my podcasts. And I talked about the love languages. Okay. So the truth is there's not one answer to this. The idea of, well, you should call them. Well, you should. We're not the ones that determine that. Have you guys heard of the love languages before? You know, personal touch, acts of service, kind of, you know, like all that stuff. Like basically the idea is if you don't understand your spouse's love language and you're speaking a different one, you think you're doing a good thing, but they're frustrated. You know, if my wife's love language is gifts, and it is one of them, and I'm just saying something nice to her and she still looks upset, she's thinking, would you just buy me something? Right? Like, cause that's her love language, right? So like our clients, our core 100, our leads, they have love languages. Okay. And I'm not saying that you should be, you know, practicing touch. That's probably not a good idea. What I'm talking about with love languages is how they like to be communicated with. Some like video, some like email, some like social DM, some like text, some like phone. You got to know which of the 5 love languages is theirs. Okay. So when I talk about things like database and those kind of things, one of the best things you can do early on, and you can actually mark this in your database, create a tag, create a category. How do you like to be communicated with? Because look, I had a situation last year where somebody sent me an email and I didn't respond. So this person comes up after an event and she goes, hey, can I do a picture? Can I do it? And I said, sure. So she goes, I just have to ask you a quick question. She goes, I sent you an email and I sent you emails for 18 months. And she goes, you never responded. She goes, yesterday, I sent you a DM, a direct message on Instagram, and you responded in 15 minutes. And she goes, what's with that? She goes, is that the case? And I said, it appears to be the case. Yeah. And she goes, well, what's with that? And I said, it's my love language. You know, like I'm quick on those spots. I'm not as quick on, you know, the other stuff. Right. So like if I was your client, I had a guy recently I was doing business with, and I literally didn't use him because I told him to stop calling me. I'm like, just shoot me a text. I don't have time to pick up the phone and have a full conversation. Like, just text me what you need and we'll get it to you. He kept calling. I didn't use him. I stopped returning. I said, hey, I'm going to go another way, whatever. You need to ask people. Don't say what's your love language. That's going to get weird real quick, okay? But you need to ask them, what is your preferred method of communication? Do you prefer that I text you? Do you prefer that I call you? Do you prefer I shoot you a video using BombBomb or something? Do you prefer I shoot you a message on social? Like which platform of choice? Do you prefer, like you need to ask them what they want. And that's the way from then on you need to communicate. Does that make sense? And you should have a note in your CRM that tells you what their preferred method of communication is. Guys, I'm telling you, this is 2020 and beyond communication. This is how it works. Okay. You need to ask and then follow that. And a lot of you know what I'm talking about. You've had people ask you questions or like try to keep calling you or doing it another way that you don't prefer. And you're like, come on. And it's frustrating, right? How many of you watching right now, how many of you prefer to be called? Now there's a change from 10 years ago. How many of you prefer to be texted? Jeez, should I even ask the rest? How many of you prefer social DM? Like you go through there. Okay. Couple. How many of you prefer phone? I already said that. I said call, didn't I? Which ones did I miss? How many prefer video? Like you prefer they send you a video or something like that? Okay, like you guys see how this is working? Almost everybody's hand went up with text. What do you think that tells us, right? I'd be texting those people going, how do you prefer? They're like, just like this. Perfect. Care enough to ask the question. You are going to save yourself. And by the way, that's in lead conversion too. You're going to save yourself a ton of time. You know, you could reach out to someone over and over again using the wrong method. And you could have cut out the last 5 months if you just would have sent them a private message on Facebook. They would have gotten right back. You know, so we've just got to pay attention to that stuff. Another thing you can do, by the way, is if you're not getting them on the other methods because that's not their love language, take their email, put it into Google, It'll show you all of their social platforms. You can go on the platforms and see which one they're active on. That's how you know where to DM, where to direct message. All right, you can see where they're actually active. Does that make sense? Another thing you can do, guys, if you don't have their cell phone, but you know that they're going to respond by text, you all just raise your hand and said text. The way that Apple does it and Google does it, if you take their email and put it into your messenger, like, you know how you text message people on the iPhone, it's the green one, on the Droid, it's whatever one, but you know how you text back and forth with people's phone numbers? If you put their email into the texting app, if that is one of the emails that's associated with their Apple account or with their Google account, and it almost always is going to be, it will go through to them as a text, even though you didn't have their phone number. Okay? So that's another way to get through that a lot of people don't realize you can do. I see a lot of you writing right now, so that's what I mean. A lot of you, like, we didn't even realize we could do that, okay?
Hey, Jared, we got about 3 minutes left. I'd
Yep.
love to get your response on the question number 2 from our team at the Antioch location. They're asked about Zillow and real estate agents. I know you've never got this question before. Would you share your thoughts on that?
Guys, I started talking about this last year at the Advance. When they made the change from oh God, names are slipping me right now.
Premier agent to Flex.
No, I'm talking about the guys that run it.
Rich Barton.
Yes, but when they changed to Rich Barton from the other guy, I started getting worried because the original guy, Spencer, had no interest in making it a real estate company. Last year at the Advance, I started telling people, "Hey, did you guys notice I have Realtor.com here and not Zillow?" Because look, I saw it coming. I'm watching it and I'm going, okay, they're setting up all of the parts. Now, the other thing that scares me here is, you know, when Google and Facebook came out recently and said, okay, no more zip code targeting because that's discriminatory, which is absolutely stupid, because we all know that if you have a house in an area, you want to hit that area, not 20 miles away. You're not discriminating. You just want to hit the neighborhood nearby. But once Google and Facebook said no more zip code targeting, that spells trouble for Zillow. Because Zillow's main revenue stream is zip code target, like selling those ads for zip codes, okay, or selling the blocks for zip codes. So I knew once that came out, Zillow's going to have to change. They're not going to be, their whole thing of saying we're not going to be a real estate company was, why would we kill our main source of revenue? Why would we do that? Well, now it looks like HUD's not going to give them the option, and they're going to get rid of their main source of revenue regardless. So I knew that they had to start going into another route, which it looks like now they're hiring full-time agents. I don't know how honest I should be with you guys. I'm not anti-Zillow. I think that I've never been on that board. I am like, hey, whatever works, works. I am at the point now, though, where I'm kind of like, I don't know that I'd be giving them too much money. Like, they obviously are now turning themselves into competitors, which is their right to do. The writing's been on the wall. Like I said, I talked about it at last year's Advance. It looked like it was too obvious. And I was always the one that was going, no, they're not doing it. No, they're not. I talked to Spencer about it, and he's like, no chance. Things have changed. So that's why all of these other ways, iBusiness, when you look at social database, it's why these things matter more than ever. You know, you want to build your business on land that you own, not on land that you rent. It's great you guys have all these reviews on Zillow. You're going to get a ton of business from them. If you were a solo agent and all your business only came from Zillow, I would say you're screwed, because that's rented land. They could pull it out from under you. It's like a comedian that built their following on MySpace. You know, that was gone quick, you know? So the greater point is, nothing wrong with using different platforms, but make sure the main part of your business is built on owned land. Okay? Direct to consumer, owned land. Make sense?
Jared, thank you very much. This has been incredible. Team, reach out in the chat box, express your appreciation to Jared with a thank you. And Jared, we really appreciate the time. We're excited about the Advance coming up.
Can't wait, guys.
Looking forward to that. I know I had the privilege of doing an interview with you and then 2 breakout sessions. So they were really, really cool. I really enjoyed them, and look forward to hearing the feedback. So
can't wait, man.
Jared, thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Hey, and if you guys have questions, connect with Jared.com. Just connect on the social platform. Send me a message. I'll answer at any time, especially knowing that you guys are with this guy. So you guys are a part of an awesome place. You really are fortunate. I hope you understand that. I deal with a lot of brokerages, I don't get on all of their calls. Like you guys are a special place. Okay. So can't wait to see you guys in person. We'll see you next week. Rick, we sold over 200 tickets today.
Nice.
So we're moving, man. We're moving.
Love it.
Awesome. Guys, I'll see you.
Appreciate it.